Welcome to the Raging Takes podcast with your hosts, Brian Dixon, Kai Zabo, and Dylan Peters.
What up, you turkeys? Welcome to episode 125 of the Raging Takes podcast. Today is Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. I'm your host, Brian Dixon, joined as always by my co-host, Kai the Commissioner Zabo, and Dylan Peters. Good morning.
Salutations.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Just the brief image of Dylan staring into my soul with sunglasses on, chomping gum, just made me giggle while doing my introduction a little bit.
That's what I'm here for, dude.
Yeah, quite a sight. Just staring at the camera, going like that.
That's a little intimidating.
I'm gonna chew the same piece of gum the whole episode.
You and your bets, dude. New one every episode. I love it. On today's episode, obviously, we're going to go over the Week 12 NFL slate. We'll have Sunday saviors / stinkers. And, of course, we'll go over the magnificent snow game that we got on Thursday Night Football from the frozen tundra of Cleveland, Ohio. But, of course...
I'm sorry, it was actually Pittsburgh.
Actually, no, it was not. It was Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was in Cleveland.
Never mind. I got the wrong notes pulled up.
So SMD, Kai. We'll start off with the raging question of the day. It has to do with the Giants again. Daniel Jones officially released by the New York Giants. So the question is, does he sign with another team this season? And if so, which team? The only team who has spoken out about this that I have seen so far is the Cowboys. Stephen Jones said that they have no interest and they like Cooper Rush and Trey Lance. So no Daniel Jones for the Cowboys, which is honestly probably a smart move. I think Daniel Jones might be better than Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, but he's not so much better where you bring him into that mess because that's only going to make things even messier, honestly. Do you guys have a team that he could go to, whether it be a starter or a backup, that would help out?
I have one question before I make up my mind about this. Mm-hmm. So I know the Giants are taking a cap casualty on releasing Daniel Jones. Does that go into, so that goes into next year, right? So does that mean whatever team picks him up, they don't take that on, at least for next year?
No, because he's a free agent, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they took the dead cap hit, and that's what they're taking. And he's currently, if he clears waivers, no team has to pick that up. So nobody's going to claim him because they would have to pay his his salary.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah. So if they have to pay his salary, I honestly don't see too many teams picking him up.
Well, the thing is, it's if they claim him, they have to pay his salary. If they don't claim him and he passes through waivers, they can just sign him for anything.
Yeah.
And he still gets paid, but that money won't go against the team that he's signing with. They just have to wait through the waiver period's over, which is probably only a couple of days.
Got it. Okay.
So he could easily be a backup for a team.
That's what I was thinking.
Only getting paid like $1 million or whatever the minimum is nowadays.
Yeah, it's like I look across all the teams in the league right now, and I just really don't see a spot for him. I really don't. I mean, unless it's a backup.
Well, that's what definitely it would be a backup. I think it would probably. I mean, I'm just trying to think of a team that might need a backup quarterback.
Raiders.
No, it makes no sense. Like for Raiders, he would be the fucking starter probably, and that doesn't make any sense either. I don't think. I think you're going to lose games whether Gardner Minshew or Daniel Jones or Desmond Ridder is your quarterback. So I don't think there's even a point for the Raiders to bring him in. I don't know. Probably just some playoff team will sign him as a backup. Maybe like the Eagles.
I mean, we already have Kenny Pickett. So
I mean, Daniel Jones is way better than Kenny Pickett.
Is he though? I don't know.
They both stink.
They both stink pretty bad.
I think Daniel Jones would look really good in the Eagles uniform.
I think honestly, the one team that I think should probably pick him up is the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, it's a solid insurance policy for Lamar Jackson. You wouldn't have to change your scheme all that much. You could probably run the same kind of plays. He's not as athletic, but
it's actually, I like that fit a lot. Actually, now that I think about it, yeah.
He would be a solid. He's really, really good at handing the ball off. So
who's their backup right now? The Ravens. Is it still Huntley?
No, Huntley plays for
Huntley's
the
on the
Packers.
Dolphins.
Or the Dolphins, yeah.
Who is the Ravens backup quarterback?
I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is it Josh Johnson?
It might be.
It is. Yep, Josh Johnson, and yeah, he's the only quarterback on the roster other than Lamar. So, yeah,
I mean, I like Josh Johnson, but he's definitely not like a top tier backup.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Dylan's kind of cooking here with the Ravens.
I mean, it would make solid sense considering like you might even need a guy to play, week 18, something like that, or like let's just say, God forbid, Lamar Jackson goes down. I think you're a lot more confident with Daniel Jones in some playoff games than Josh Johnson. Josh Johnson has barely played in his career.
Josh Johnson did play in the NFC Championship game, though, a couple years ago for the 49ers. He was their quarterback. Remember when they were going through that against the Eagles? They had a bunch of injuries, including Brock Purdy. Josh Johnson had to come in. Did not do very good, if I remember correctly. The Eagles kind of destroyed them. Oh, my God, I have a frog in my throat. Okay. Let's move on to the Thursday Night Football review. Browns 24, Steelers 19. What a game this was. A little slow in the first half, but man, the second half was so much fun. In the snow in Cleveland, Jameis does just enough to win this game for the Browns. 18 for 27, 219 yards, and an interception. He also had a rushing touchdown and a lost fumble. The fumble was devastating in the moment for me personally because I needed Njoku. Njoku didn't do well in this game at all. Dropped a touchdown. But when the fumble happened, I was like, "Oh my God, Jameis just did it again, dude! Jameis just Jameis'd me." It was the full Jameis Winston experience in this game. Nick Chubb scored twice, went 20 for 59, so not like the best Nick Chubb game or anything like that, but 2 touchdowns. Jerry Jeudy leads the Browns pass catcher 6 for 85. Myles Garrett had 3 sacks. For the Steelers, Russell Wilson was solid, 21 of 28. 270 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble. Jalen Warren scored a touchdown, finished with 11 for 45. Najee didn't do anything really, 16 for 41. Calvin Austin scored on an absolute great throw by Russell Wilson, 3 for 78 and a touchdown for Calvin Austin, but the touchdown was amazing from Russ. And then Freiermuth and Pickens. Freiermuth 4 for 59. Pickens was 4 for 48. So how did you guys feel about this game? I mean, I love a good snow game. Obviously, everybody does, but I think it elevated this game from. It would have probably been just an okay Thursday Night Football game if it would have gone down exactly like it did without the snow, but it turned it into just like one of the more memorable Thursday games of the year for sure.
Yeah, it was so crazy, like how fast the snow came in. Like I remember like seeing it. It was like green field, and then all of a sudden just covered in white, and I was like, "Holy crap! Like what happened?" And then did you guys see that
snowing?
Yeah. Did you guys see the little TikTok though afterwards when they won and the fireworks were going off in the sky?
No.
It was kind of like a cool little image, like all the Browns players were doing like snow angels and stuff, and you see the fireworks going off in the background. It was a cool.
That's cool. That's cool.
But yeah, for me though, I mean, this kind of opens up some questions about the Steelers. It's like, yeah, on paper, Russ didn't really have a bad game, but it's just there's something about their offense that I think is just going to hold this team back. Like I know Russ looks better than Fields at this point of the season now, but there's still something about this offense that I can't put my finger on that I think is going to hold them back in the postseason.
The lack of a wide receiver 2.
Well, Calvin Austin just kind of showed out here, but he's not consistent enough. So I see what you're saying. Yeah,
and Mike Williams isn't going to be consistent either.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this game was just a defensive struggle. There was more heart attacks in this game than I've ever seen. The dynamic kickoff, there was players just muffing the ball, just hitting the ball so it fell in front of them so they could pick it up and run with it. There's a lot of ball security issues, a lot of drops. But I do have to tell you, man, that little rollout to the right, Jameis Winston cocked through, and Jerry Jeudy's like 10 feet in the air. Boom! Came down with it. I was like, that has got to be one of the better plays I've seen this year that didn't involve a touchdown or a turnover or something big like that. It was probably one of the better catches I've seen. He basically plucked a football out of the night sky in like blizzard conditions. Snow blowing sideways across your face, I'm like, maybe the Browns do have some juice. But I did see that I saw this stat that Mike Tomlin is in his career as the Steelers coach. He has a 500 record against sub 500 teams. So anybody near 500, Mike Tomlin is 500 against them. And he's 0-8 during Thursday night divisional games on the road. Like, Mike Tomlin's a winner, but this game was set up for him to lose in general. And none of us saw it coming.
0-8 in divisional games on the road on Thursday Night Football?
Yep.
Huh. What kind of Eberflus stat is that, dude? Yeah. That's crazy.
I see them. I see these stats. I go on Google and I go, show me some stats that I haven't seen no one else will see ever, too.
That's good reporting.
So he's 500 against 500 teams. So Mike Tomlin is the biggest victim of trap games in the history of coaching, it seems.
So is Mike Tomlin a fraud then? That's a bad stat.
No, I don't think he's a fraud.
How many Super Bowls does he have?
Don't lie. Only one.
Only one. He's the Aaron Rodgers of coaching in the NFL.
And he beat Aaron Rodgers in that Super Bowl.
So
wait. No, Aaron Rodgers beat him. Sorry.
No, he beat Kurt Warner.
He beat Kurt Warner.
Yep.
I got Mike ahead of the conspiracy horse right there, yeah.
Mike Tomlin might be a fraud, dude. And I'm not just saying that because...
It's a little spicy. That's a little spicy.
I'm not saying that because of anything, man. He's just barely better than... He's Marvin Lewis with the Super Bowl.
I guess I could see it.
Okay.
I think he's a little bit more consistent, though.
Ever since Ben Roethlisberger left, he hasn't done much. I mean, he has a good team all the time, but it doesn't take him anywhere. Like, he hasn't taken any of his teams anywhere in the last...
Well,
was it, like, fucking 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, though, is, like, with Ben Roethlisberger, they haven't really had a quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger, like a good one. So that hurts.
Whose fault is that?
I mean, I don't know. Is it the GM? Is it Mike Tomlin? Is it the owner?
Is it the people of Pittsburgh being mean to their players and Ben Roethlisberger's the only one that can handle it? I don't know. I feel like
all good questions.
They got lucky with Ben Roethlisberger. This game was good, but it kind of, as soon as it started out, dude, you're like, oh, man, the Steelers are going to lose this game.
I'm not going to lie. There was a moment that happened. I can't remember which one it was, but I think it might have been the Jameis fumble, honestly. But the Browns were up by a good amount, and then something backbreaking happened. I think it was the Jameis fumble that I was like, I knew it. I knew the Browns weren't going to win this game. They don't win these types of games. I was like, the Steelers are going to come back and win this game. And the Steelers made it interesting. They came back pretty swiftly there in like the fourth quarter. And then the Browns took control of the game again. So does this just show that the Steelers might not be as good of a team as we think they are? Or is this just kind of like the conditions? Because George Pickens, after the game, that's what he was talking about. He's like, oh, the Browns just benefited from the conditions. It's like, well, they played in the same conditions you did, dude. So, I don't know. The Steelers kind of are on fraud watch right now.
I think just because of how bad their offense and how slow it can be. Yeah, I think that's really the only reason why. I mean, I'll give the defense a little bit of a break because this was an insane weather game. Crazy things just happen in divisional games. But yeah, I really just think it's the Pittsburgh offense that holds them back for me.
It's the same story as last year. Holy shit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just a little better, I guess, right?
Hey, Russell Wilson was the lipstick on the pig, brother. All I got to say is the lack of, I guess, ingenuity, imagination on the Steelers on defense to not be able to scheme TJ Watt into some like favorable conditions. He was getting double teamed and chipped, and they kept him out of the game completely. Like, they kept Jameis Winston relatively safe from TJ Watt, and the Steelers weren't allowed to do that, or weren't able to do that with Myles Garrett in the first half. I believe that has a lot to do with how this game was.
Mm. Yeah, did you guys see the Myles Garrett and TJ Watt like kind of exchanging words like in the week leading up to this game too?
I heard that Myles Garrett said that he was better after the game. That's the only thing I'd really heard, though.
Yeah, it was kind of like along those lines. They were kind of just like, oh, how does this guy get Defensive Player of the Year over me? That kind of stuff.
TJ Watt was saying that too, or is it just Myles Garrett?
I think it was both of them. Watt. They were kind of going back and forth, yeah. So
I feel like TJ Watt kind of like keeps his nose down normally and just like, I'm just going to go out there and play football. He's not really like his brother. I can see Myles Garrett doing that though for sure.
There was like a little drama with Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year and TJ Watt being in the running for it.
That's it.
And then
right
he
there.
didn't show up to celebrate Myles Garrett when like they say NFL's a brotherhood, but TJ Watt just didn't show up to congratulate him. And Myles Garrett goes, "All right, brother, I'll show you. I'll show you."
Athletes take things so personal sometimes.
I do,
he was just busy, dude.
just
TJ, why didn't TJ Watt come to my Defensive Player of the Year celebration, dude?
he's just a chill guy.
He's just
All right. Sunday Saviors and Stinkers time. First up for me, the first savior of the week, Tyrone Tracy for me. Going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs are 26th against running backs in fantasy and PPR. And honestly, I know Tyrone Tracy, a lot of people are kind of getting nervous about him because of the fumble that he had against Carolina. Brian Daboll kind of reiterated that. It was like he's on the doghouse. The Giants still trust him. Now, with the quarterback change going from Daniel Jones to Tommy DeVito, I think the Giants are going to kind of try to play this a little safe. I think Tyrone Tracy's going to be heavily involved in the offense. And I think he catches some dump-off passes from Tommy DeVito, too. So I think Tyrone Tracy has 100 yards and a touchdown. I think he has a couple catches in this game, too. So my first savior, Tyrone Tracy.
all right. My first savior, I'm going with Rome Odunze against the Minnesota Vikings. So as we all know, the Vikings have kind of like not looked like the dominant team that they started out the season to be. And as of right now, they're the 28th ranked pass defense. I think while Odunze gets more comfortable in this offense, and Caleb Williams showed some improvement last week with the new offensive coordinator over there in Chicago, I could see this being a good game for Odunze. Like, I think Odunze is really going to have to show out this game. And I think the matchup's pretty good.
Fair enough. He has been showing out a lot lately. Been getting open. My first savior of the week, it's going to be a big name, a big, huge name. Tyreek Hill. He's had a down year this year. Kind of coming back a little bit. It's a divisional game at home. That offense is kind of gelling a little bit. I don't think he's the kind of guy you can keep down very much. So I look for him to at least equal his production from last week versus the Patriots, because I do believe that they're going to need him to win this game, because I don't think New England is a pushover as much as maybe their record shows. So Tyreek Hill, the Dolphins are going to need you.
Savior number 2 for me, Dallas Goedert, Eagles tight end. So Devontae Smith is out of this game. Goddard's had a very solid season so far. Let me pull up his numbers. When he plays, he's basically an extremely usable tight end in fantasy. 7.6 points, 27 points, 13 points, 10 points, 11 points are his season totals. Going up against the Rams, who are 23rd versus the tight end. So I think Devontae Smith's absence will benefit Dallas Goedert a lot in this game.
Nice. For my second savior of the week, I'm going with Quentin Johnston. Huge. Yeah, so as we saw last week with the Chargers, they started throwing the ball a lot more. Justin Herbert looks 100% healthy. This matchup coming in with the Ravens, last pass-ranked defense in the league. This is going to be, I think this game has shootout written all over it. Quentin Johnston has scored a touchdown in the last 3 weeks. He's been heavily involved in this offense. And if Justin Herbert's going to continue to throw, I think Quentin Johnston can get another touchdown in this game.
Very possible. My second savior of the week is going to be a guy named Kareem Hunt. I know we're all kind of nervous about Isaiah Pacheco coming back and what's that going to mean for Kareem Hunt. But for this week, Isaiah Pacheco has been ruled out. And what we've been really doing on this podcast, and I think fantasy football in general across the board globally, is starting everyone that's playing the Panthers. And I think that includes a guy that knows this is probably his last chance to really get some good production on the field and show his role on the team. So give me Kareem Hunt to kind of like have a last hurrah as a starting running back against the Panthers.
Yeah, I like that. Kareem Hunt almost made it into my saviors this week, so that's a good one. I agree with that one. My third savior, Will Dissly, back-to-back weeks for the Diss Dog. Going up against the Ravens. Baltimore, obviously, horrible pass defense. They give up the most passing yards per game in the league. They're also 24th against tight ends in PPR. Will Dissly had 18 points last week and has at least 6 targets in 4 of his past 5 games with Justin Herbert. So I think Dissly has a touchdown and a pretty solid. He has a pretty high floor, I think, as far as tight ends go this week.
For my last savior, I'm going with Ramondre Stevenson. So over the last 4 weeks, he's been averaging 20 touches in the offense. Going up against the Dolphins, too, there's going to be a divisional game. They're going to need to pull out the Patriots are going to need to pull out all the stops in this game, and that includes establishing a ground game. I like the matchup for Ramondre. I like the usage in the offense. Just based on volume alone, he's worth a start in your flex.
I like all of Kai's saviors. They tend to always be right. He's always right. My third savior of the week, it's going to be a guy that I've been a little up and down on, but there's no reason to be down on him anymore. Even this week, Cortland Sutton, with the Raiders having their top 2 cornerbacks out and possibly a third, it looks like they could be running out the water boy on this one. And I'm not talking about Bobby Boucher. Who's going to be covering Cortland Sutton? Who's going to be covering anybody on this team, especially in the end zone? You don't really got anybody. Bo Nix is on fire. Fire up Cortland Sutton across the board in your fantasy leagues. And possibly going forward, Cortland Sutton, for the price you got him for, he could be a cheap league winner.
Yeah. So the Raiders might be missing 3 top cornerbacks. Plus, this doesn't really matter because he's been out for like weeks and weeks. But already one of their starting safeties is out for the season too. So their secondary is in a world of hurt right now, and it wasn't very good to begin with. So yeah, Cortland Sutton might go nuclear, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
My first stinker of the week, Kyren Williams. He has just been atrocious lately. I feel like you're probably starting him no matter what if you have him, because you probably don't have better options. But if you do, I would consider benching him. The last 3 weeks, 10 points, 11 points, 8 points since Cooper Kupp and Puka have both been out. He hasn't scored a touchdown since week 7. It hasn't scored a rushing touchdown since week 7. And the Eagles are 5th against running backs. So I am very nervous about Kyren Williams. I have him in one league. I'm probably playing him, but I don't feel good about it at fucking all.
Yeah. For my first stinker of the week, I'm going with Tank Dell against the Colts. Sucks to say, but Tank Dell is now one of those guys who flirts with your flex spot, and it's probably just not a good idea to throw him in. His fantasy value is definitely going to decrease now that Nico Collins is back in this lineup and CJ Stroud is having somewhat of regression in his sophomore season. So, yeah, if you have any better options on your flex, just don't put Tank Dell in there this week.
Flirts with your flex spot, dude. I like that. A little flex flirt. I think we have a new term for a player, dude. Flex flirts.
You heard it here first. Tank Dell is in our home league. Tank Dell is the only person on my bench not on bye week.
Oh,
that's how much I'm not playing him.
Wow.
Yeah. My first stinker of the week was taken right before we started recording, but I got another one here. It's Deebo Samuel. I just don't like his role, man. And now that I've said this, he'll probably drop 40 points. But I kind of like no Brock Purdy. His role is bad anyways. CMC's back, and all the other receivers look a little bit more efficient than he does, which is kind of an anomaly in fantasy football. Like where it's where like you put your whole puzzle together and the last piece doesn't fit. You're like, what is this? That's the Deebo Samuel piece.
I guess I'll just piggyback off of that one. I guess this is probably the one that got taken from you, Juwan Jennings. Is that right? Is that the one that got a stinker that got taken from you?
I was talking about taking a shit before we recorded, but okay.
Gotcha. Second stinker of the week, Juwan Jennings for me. Same exact reasoning that Dylan has. No Brock Purdy. The Packers are 8th against wide receivers in PPR. There's a lot of weapons there, too. I really think the only 49ers I'm starting this week are CMC, obviously, and George Kittle, obviously. Brandon Allen, definitely not like the most exciting backup quarterback, but at the same time, the 49ers, they can make some magic out of him. So would it shock me if some of these 49ers have fantasy relevant days? No, but I'm definitely not willing to take the chance on it, just knowing what we know right now. So no Juwan Jennings for me this week.
For my second stinker of the week, Chuba Hubbard, obviously going up against the Chiefs defense. The Panthers are also talking about debuting Jonathan Brooks this week too. So not sure where Chuba's going to fall in the pecking order in terms of like the entire game, like how many carries each of them are going to get. Also, the matchup is just extremely bad. Chiefs are one of the best run defenses in the league. So yeah, keep Chuba out of your lineup this week.
Good one.
Keep him out. Keep him out. My second stinker is going to be Tony Pollard. We saw what the Texans did to the Cowboys run game last week, but that's not saying very much. But with Will Levis and this being a divisional game and the Texans really struggling on offense, their defense has been playing really well. And they really do need to win this game to stay ahead of the Colts firmly in that divisional race, because it's a little bit closer than probably they'd like. I can see Tony Pollard being taken out of this game, and they're going to make Will Levis try to beat them through the air. And I don't think it's going to work either.
Okay. Third stinker for me, DeAndre Swift of the Bears. Matchup-wise, the Vikings are the second best against fantasy running backs. Roschon Johnson's getting the goal line work. That scares me. And also, I know this is all like basically close together. He's getting like the same amount of touches every week, but last week was the least amount of touches he's had in a game since week 1. So it's only by like 2 or 3, but still, with the new offensive coordinator, it's just a little worrisome against a really, really good rush defense. So I'm benching DeAndre Swift.
For my last stinker of the week, I'm going with Tucker Kraft against the 49ers. So the 49ers are the 4th ranked defense in the league against the tight end position in fantasy. And it's just Tucker Kraft is in such a crowded offense. I think he's just so boomer bust these days. It's like you're either going to get like a 2 touchdown game from him or you're going to get like single digits. So yeah, in a week where there's a lot of teams on bye, look elsewhere for a tight end.
Mm-hmm. My third stinker of the week is going to be a guy that was on my stinkers list last week, I believe, Zay Flowers. What I've noticed from the Baltimore Ravens is that they play good unless they play a good defense, and then they shrink up into a ball and become very conservative. And they lose their explosiveness, and the way that Lamar Jackson looked versus the Steelers defense was pretty bad. And I think the Chargers defense is basically right on the same level with them. When it comes to defense, I don't think that the Ravens are going to score that many points. So with Zay Flowers' touchdown upside already being sort of low, getting even lower, and maybe the efficiency's not there, I'm just not liking the Zay Flowers. I'm not liking the Zay Flowers experience this week. I'm gonna hold off.
Okay, I like that reasoning. Let's get to the games.
Anything else?
First up, bye weeks for week 12. The Falcons, the Bills, the Bengals, the Saints, the Jets, and the Jaguars are all off this week. First game we're going to talk about, Vikings 8-2 at the Bears 4-6. Keenan Allen is a game time decision. DeAndre Swift is questionable, but had a full practice on Friday, so we expect him to play. Elijah Hicks is out. Josh Oliver is out for the Vikings. It's in Chicago. Can the Bears build off the, I don't know, should we call it a competent showing last week? Were they more competent than normal? Can they build off of that in order to beat the 8-2 Vikings in Chicago? What do you think, Dylan?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think Minnesota is, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I think Minnesota is a paper tiger this year. I don't think that they're as good as their record implies. They're not scoring as many points as you would think an 8-2 team would. Defense is pretty solid, but yeah, the Bears came out a little bit more competent last week against the Packers. I know that they had like the blocked field goal at the end, but they were in it the whole game. And at the time of kickoff, it's going to be 47 degrees and mostly sunny. So it's going to be beautiful weather, beautiful Chicago weather. And what I'm really looking forward for here is just more of that offensive rhythm. Can they get into a rhythm? Can they keep themselves out of second and longs, pre-snap penalties? Can they stay in the game with their defense and give Caleb Williams a chance to get comfortable. And when it comes to that, I really think they will, and I'm gonna do something I haven't done in a couple weeks here. I'm gonna take the Bears to win this game at home.
Yeah, I was going to take them too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, when I was just thinking about this game, I was just like, divisional game. The Bears had like some life on offense last week. I kind of expect that to continue. As I alluded to earlier, the Vikings are weaker in the secondary versus their run defense. I think Caleb Williams, if the offense continues the way like I think it's going to, I think he can exploit that. Just with these divisional games too, I could really just see this being a game where Sam Darnold like crashes down to earth. Like they've already been looking kind of shaky the last few weeks. I think Dylan's right though. They are a paper tiger right now.
I don't disagree with the paper tiger opinion. I definitely don't think they're like a Super Bowl contender, even though they've been very good this year. I thought that this had trap game vibes to it as well for the Vikings. So I am kind of shocked that both of you picked the Bears, because for a second I thought about picking the Bears. But I definitely didn't think you guys would be on that same boat with me. I'm not going to pick the Bears. I've talked myself out of it. I think the Vikings are just the better team, but I think it's interesting that you guys both kind of had like the same idea as one another here. So I'm going to go ahead and just be smart. I'm not going to get cute with it here. I'm going to pick the Vikings. The trap game factor is definitely in the back of my mind, though. It just depends on how the Bears offense looks. If they look the same or hopefully better than last week, there's definitely a good chance that they can upset the Vikings here. If they look like the normal Bears of the month previously before that, there's no fucking way in hell they beat the Vikings, I don't think. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Vikings. Just take the smart bet here.
Yeah,
but
just
it wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me if the Bears won.
Yeah, just one more point I had for my main part of the decision was it's just like I feel like Sam Darnold really struggles against these kind of defenses like the Bears, where they're very opportunistic, they get a lot of turnovers, they're very feisty. I think these are the kind of defenses that Sam Darnold breaks against. I
mean, he struggled against the fucking Jaguars, dude.
Yeah,
so yeah, definitely possible he struggles against the Bears. Just trying to think of any last little fantasy update. I think obviously you're starting all the obvious names: Jefferson, Hawkinson, starting Aaron Jones against the Bears.
Oh, dude. Yeah. Aaron Jones. Okay. Aaron Jones has been tearing up the Bears for the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Like he just knows how to play the Bears. It seems like we have a weakness against these kind of running backs, like these shifty little receiving backs. They always just kind of crush us. And even like Josh Jacobs had a good game last week. It's just that's the one thing that the Bears defense has kind of been weakened. It's like staying strong against the run the whole game. Like we'll have spurts where it's like a drive or two, it'll look good, and then someone will bust off like a 27-yard run on us.
What about DJ Moore?
Yeah,
I think he's startable this week.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dylan?
I think he's startable. Until I see more of a vertical pass game from the Bears, though, I'm just like thinking DJ Moore's upside is a little limited because he's been kind of kept to screens and little short routes and stuff like that. So it seems like Odunze is more their vertical threat. So maybe that's digging into that role of DJ Moore's, but I definitely think DJ Moore is viable because his touchdown upside is there each week.
All right, next up, Lions. Sorry, I scrolled down on my sheet. Lions 9-1 at Colts 5-6. Lions rookie corner Terrion Arnold is out. There are no major injuries to report for Indianapolis. It is in Indy. Anthony Richardson trying to kind of build off of his pretty impressive game that he had last week against the Jets. The Lions are feisty, obviously, on defense. They have their weaknesses, but I don't think Anthony Richardson has the power to exploit their weaknesses. So I kind of think the Lions are just going to go in there and just wreak havoc. And I kind of expect this to be a little bit of a bloodbath. I'm going to say like 31-14 Lions is kind of the way I'm looking at it. Do you guys have it closer, or are you along the same lines as I am?
I'm kind of expecting like another like 40+ point outing from the Lions. this could be another scoregami too. How I'll call it. Yeah.
Oh, a Kai scoregami prediction.
Yeah.
Now that's a segment idea for next season.
Mm-hmm. I just think, man, dude, it's just like it's so hard to deny the Lions. We're literally witnessing history. This is one of the best teams in football we've seen in maybe our lifetime. Yeah, like I don't see how the Colts can manage anything to beat the Lions. Like Anthony Richardson looked good last week. I think he's going to fall back down to earth again. It's going to be one of those games, in my opinion.
I know the Lions give up a decent amount of rushing yards per game to the quarterback position. I think it's just because they're not really worried about that hurting them. So I think Anthony Richardson has a little bit of potential that way to get some points on the ground. But I don't think his passing numbers are going to be that good, even though the Lions' passing defense is kind of shaky at times, where I think that they are exploitable. I don't think Anthony Richardson can exploit them. So I went back and forth. I almost put Anthony Richardson as a savior and a stinker, but I was just like, I don't know if he's going to have a good game or a bad game. I don't trust him to play him. I don't think I would play him unless I absolutely just have no other options, which there are 6 teams on bye this week, so maybe you don't have any options. I'm going to try my best to avoid playing Colts if I have to, and I'm just going to assume the Lions just wipe the floor with them. Yeah. So that's how I'm sitting with it.
With Richardson, you're putting him in and hoping that he gets you like at least 2 rushing touchdowns. That's pretty much it with this game.
At least 2 rushing touchdowns. Jesus, trying to make him go nuclear on the ground.
Yeah, no, that's the only way I could talk myself into starting him against the Lions for fantasy.
Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a rough game. The Colts. I know that the Lions have a couple injuries. They lost Alex Anzalone. He broke his arm, and then they're down a couple of corners, and their defensive backfield looks a little weak. But I just don't know if that's enough to justify the Colts being able to score very many points in this game, just because of how opportunistic the Lions defense is. It seems like they don't need a lot of opportunities, and that offense is so efficient that the Colts are going to have to score every single drive to beat them. And I fully expect, like, I wouldn't be shocked if they scored 56 points on the Colts.
Yeah.
Like if they just won like 56-21, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't look for any, like, if anybody's going to have a good game in this game for the Colts, it's going to be Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust Anthony Richardson. I wouldn't trust any of these receivers. The energy around Detroit is just so electric that's half the battle right there. The energy that they bring to the game, nobody's been able to match it since week 1, at least. So give me the Lions to win this game in convincing fashion. And I'll go at 56-21 Lions.
There you go.
It's a college sport.
Like obviously, Jonathan Taylor is a must start because you're just starting him every week. But the Lions' run defense is amazing. So, like, yeah, he's definitely the best player on that offense. But it's going up against the Lions' best feature too on their defense. So, just a scary all-around game for Colts players. I think I just do not like this matchup whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
The only receiver I'd really consider playing would be Josh Downs, and even then, I would be trying to get him out. I think, but if you got to, you got to. I think I have to in one league. We're all on Detroit. Next up, Patriots 3-8 at Dolphins 4-6. Kyle Duggar is questionable. Christian Gonzalez is questionable. And Kendall Fuller is out for Miami. It's in Miami. I don't know. This one's a little bit of a, well, if the Dolphins win, they're kind of back in the playoff hunt a little bit. If they lose, though, it's just 2 stinky ass teams just battling to be the basement dweller in that division. I don't know. Where you going with this? Do either of you guys have an opinion about this game? Because I'm still thinking here.
Oh, man. I think it's really important for the Patriots if Kyle Duggar and Christian Gonzalez play, because that's 2 good pieces of their defensive backfield.
What's wrong with Christian Gonzalez?
I'd have to look again.
Let me look it up. You keep talking. I'll look it up.
Okay. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is going to be one of those tough games. I mean, the Dolphins defense hasn't been nearly as strong as they started out the season. Drake May's been vastly improving. I think the Patriots are, just fighting to look good with nothing to lose. I think the Dolphins have a little bit more to lose. So I'm going to pick the Patriots to win.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Okay.
For me, the Dolphins, the last 4 games, 1 point loss to Arizona, a playoff team, we're thinking. 3 point loss to Buffalo, playoff team. And then they beat the Rams, which was a 50-50 game. And then they beat the Raiders, who they were supposed to be, right? So in like literally all the aspects of this, like the Dolphins are a good team with a bad record. Like that's never been questions. Like we all think the Dolphins are a good team on paper. They have a good quarterback, a good offense, a lot of playmakers. It's going to come down to that defense and if they can stop Drake May. And I think that they can. I mean, they did a good job against Matthew Stafford and that whole gang over there. So
they have a good pass defense for what it's worth.
They have a really good pass defense. And I think that's what's going to matter in this game is because which defense can make the most amount of stops. And I really think that it's easier to stop the Patriots offense than it is the Dolphins offense. So give me the Dolphins to win in a close game. I think it's going to be very, very close. I'm talking about probably even overtime because these are 2 very evenly matched teams. But I just think probably for the sake of everyone involved in Miami, this is a must-win game.
Yeah, I like Drake May a lot. I think that he is a good player, but I think the Dolphins' pass defense could shut him down. I still don't really love the weapons that he's working with there in New England. I do think this is going to be a close game, but the Dolphins usually beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, and they need to beat this team in order to keep in the playoff hunt, and I think that they probably will take care of business. So I'm going to say the Dolphins win by 3 points. You said the Patriots, right, Kai?
I did. Yeah, I think it's going to be close either way you slice it.
77 and sunny, dude, in Miami. What a beautiful setting for a game.
77 and sunny?
Yeah, dude. In fucking almost December, it's 77 degrees.
We need to go to Miami one day.
What a perfect place!
Right? I would love to go to Miami with you guys.
Oh, yeah. Plan it next year.
Okay. Next up, Bucs 4-6 at Giants 2-8. Tyke Smith is out for the Buccaneers. Mike Evans is still questionable. We are going to have to see about him. I'm not sure if he's playing or not yet. Malik Neighbors is questionable. Also not sure if he's playing. And then Kayvon Thibodeau is set to make his return from injured reserve.
That's huge for the Giants. I mean,
honestly, Mike Evans coming back would be huge too. I think he's going to play, but they've just been very mysterious about it all week. So the coaches will kind of talk like he is playing, and then other coaches will be like, well, if he can suit up, we're not going to give him all the work. He started off as a savior for me this week, and just because I felt like Baker was going to just be force feeding him because they have to start winning games here, and that's their season kind of went downhill once Mike Evans got hurt. But if he's not going to be out there if they're going to kind of just slow down his snap percentage, I don't know if I would play him or not. I'm a little nervous about this. Do you guys have an opinion either way, whether you would play Mike Evans if he's in?
I mean, the Giants defense isn't necessarily strong in the pass game. So I think that would especially with so many teams on bye this week, I think it's just so situational whether you play Mike Evans or not. Just depends on your roster. I mean, if you might have a really solid option, someone who would probably have the same floor as a Mike Evans, maybe play him instead just this week. Yeah.
I mean, if Mike Evans plays, you kind of are gravitating towards starting him in fantasy. If you drafted him that high,
and even if he limited his snaps, he still could catch a touchdown and still make make it a good day just for being out there 40% of the time or whatever, 50% of the time.
You're going to limit his snaps. That means that he's going to get the red zone snaps. That means that he's going to get the third down snaps. He's the go-to guy out there. And obviously they have nobody really on the level of Mike Evans on that team. And I think with Tommy DeVito playing and that Giants offense looking completely inept as it is, I don't think the Buccaneers are going to have to do very much to win this game. So maybe they lean on the run game or they play more safe football. But I definitely expect the Buccaneers to win this game in general. I mean, to me, it's we could say all we want about, this change, that change. The Giants are stinky. The Giants have one of the worst records in football. They don't score points. They don't threaten you at all. I know it's in New Jersey, but This doesn't look good for the Giants in general. They're on the fast track to getting a new quarterback, anyways.
I am like the leader of the. You never know when a backup quarterback could provide a spark group. I would argue that with Cooper Rush. I'm going to argue the same thing with Tommy DeVito. There is a chance that the Giants are just better with him. I heard that the locker room is a little bit in shambles. It seems like the locker room wanted Daniel Jones for whatever reason. Apparently, he's probably just a nice guy, or I don't know, maybe a good leader or something like that. I heard there's a little turmoil in the locker room because of this move, so maybe that won't happen. I'm not going to pick the Giants. I'm just. I think it's a possibility that they look okay. This is a possible trap game situation for the Buccaneers. I think with Tommy DeVito. I don't know if a 4-6 or a 4-17, whatever record they are, 4-6 can get trap gamed, but this is kind of a trap game for Tampa. I think I'm gonna pick Tampa, but I'm a little nervous about it. I honestly, if you had to make me predict right now whether Malik Neighbors plays or not, I don't think he plays. I don't think he's been practicing all week. I didn't check the practice report, but last time I looked at it, I don't think he had been practicing at all, which is not a good sign. I'm very concerned that Malik Neighbors doesn't play, so I think that'll hurt the Giants as well. I think Tyrone Tracy's going to have a good game against Tampa Bay, but I'll pick the Buccaneers, but I think it's going to be a close one. I think the Bucs win by like 2 or 3.
Well, boys, I am picking the Giants. Hear me out.
There you go.
Hear me out. Kayvon Thibodeau back on this D-line, pairing up with Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns. That's going to make their run defense a lot stronger than it's been all season. Yeah, they rank really low in the rushing defense up to this point. I think that's going to improve a little bit with Kayvon Thibodeau back on that D-line. Also, Giants are the 4th-ranked passing defense in the league. I thought that was nuts.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I know my decision really depended on if Mike Evans is going to play this game or not, but even then, he might be on a limited snap count. But I just think the inclusion of Tommy DeVito into this offense might generate a spark. We've seen that trend happen time and time again. I do think this is a trap game. I think the Giants' defense can be feisty enough if Kayvon Thibodeau is 100% again in the run game. And Tyrone Tracy going up against the Buccaneers, bad running defense too. We got to remember the Buccaneers have a bad defense themselves too. So anything could happen in this game, and that's why I'm picking the Giants.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That was really well said, Kai. I like that reasoning. Dylan and I are on Tampa. Kai's on the Giants. Next up, Cowboys. Commanders. Dallas is 3-7. Commanders are 7-4. A lot of injuries to talk about in this game. Trayvon Diggs and Zach Martin are both out. CeeDee Lamb returned to practice on Friday, is expected to play for Dallas. Brandon Cooks will not be activated from IR this week. He is out. Jake Ferguson is out as well. Deron Bland will make his season debut for the Cowboys. And Marshawn Lattimore still out for the Commanders. Let's start there. What is that about? Do the Commanders just not like do their research, or was this just like a future move? Let me go look at his contract.
I mean,
we know off the top of our head how many more years he has.
I'm not sure, but it still is a good move for the future. But it's like, man, dude, at the position that you guys are in right now, it's like you need him now. It's like, what are you guys doing?
I don't think they necessarily need him now.
There's a potential out after this year, but he's still on a deal for 2 more years.
Like, if you're going to ask me if Marshawn Lattimore needs to play this game for the Commanders to beat the Cowboys at home, like in Washington,
you're right.
They don't. I mean, like, yeah, Deron Bland is coming back, but Trayvon Diggs is out. It seems like those guys can't get on the field at the same time. It's just not looking good for the Cowboys. The Commanders have been playing really well as of late, even though they've lost, I believe, 2 consecutive games. You just kind of have to look at it like, yeah, they've lost 2 consecutive games to division-winning teams, possibly. Like, so it is what it is. Maybe the Commanders are a cut less than those teams that they lost to. Maybe they're still building up to that point. But I fully expect them to win this game at home versus the Cowboys. The Cowboys got no firepower. CeeDee Lamb should be just pissed to all. He should be pissed to the maximum that this is how his season's gone. But hey, the Cowboys didn't do anything to improve their team beyond their starters. They have no depth, and it's showing. And they're going to continue to lose these games.
Yeah, I'm picking the Commanders too. This is pretty cut and dry. I mean, Commanders are playing really good football right now. Number 5 passing defense in the league, going up against Cooper Rush. Like, yeah, give me the Commanders.
I'm also picking the Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels has a bounce back game. He's been a little slow in fantasy the last few games. I think the Commanders this is basically just a get right game for the Commies. I think that they have a pretty good game. I think Brian Robinson has a great game. I will say that this was a nice little niche stat that I picked up on Twitter this week. This is from @LordReeves. Dallas has allowed a 70.2% catch rate to outside wide receivers, which is 30th in the NFL. But against the left wide receiver specifically, they have allowed only 28.5 receiving yards per game, which is second in the NFL. That is the spot on the field that Terry McLaurin mostly plays in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. So if they were going to lock anybody up on the Commanders, just keep an eye on Terry McLaurin unless they move him around. I know Cliff Kingsbury's a little stubborn when it comes to that type of stuff and messing with his offense. So there's a chance they move Terry around, but if they keep him on the left-hand side, the Cowboys potentially could lock him down. Noah Brown is the wide receiver that plays on the other side of the field more often than not. And they have allowed a league high 73.3 yards per game on that side of the field. So I think that, like, if you are really desperate for a flex play, I think Noah Brown is a decent play this week. If you're just like throwing shit at the wall and hoping something sticks.
You know what? It's that Terry McLaurin on the left side of the field thing has a lot to do with vision and hand-eye coordination. And there's a specific thing biologically that makes certain people better at catching in certain positions. There was an article written about Terry McLaurin and like his dominant hand that allows him to play better on the left side. So it's like,
interesting.
It's not due to scheme. It's due to him just being better when catching with his left hand on the outside, his right hand on the inside.
It probably has to do something with like muscle memory, something along those lines.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all on the Commanders then?
Oh, that's never been said. Just kidding.
I think it's been said a few times this year.
Until this year, yeah.
I tell you what, Niagara Falls is coming out of my nose right now. Chiefs 9-1 at Panthers 3-7. I am struggling over here, boys. Chiefs 9-1 at Carolina 3-7. Isaiah Pacheco will not play in this game. Charles Omenihu is also still out. Jonathan Brooks will make his NFL debut for the Panthers. Adam Thielen will also make his return from IR. Jalen Coker was a DNP on Friday. I have the Chiefs winning this game.
No way.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to walk into Carolina and beat the Panthers. I know that's a shocking prediction, but I just think it's going to happen. I think Mahomes has a fine game. I think Kelsey has a really good game against the Panthers. This is just, I mean, there's just no. I know any given Sunday, blah blah blah. There's no way in hell the Panthers beat the Chiefs this week. I'm sorry, I just don't see it happening. I think there's a 0% chance the Panthers win this game.
I don't know if I'd say zero.
I think it's a 0% chance the Panthers win this game, and I also think the Chiefs are going to be mad that they lost the Bills last week, so they're going to kind of come out firing. So I agree with Dylan that Kareem Hunt is a great play. I actually think that if you have Kareem Hunt, he is a must start. I think Kelsey's going to have a great game. I think Mahomes has a great game. I have the Chiefs winning by, I'm going to say the Chiefs by 18.
Okay. Yeah, Chiefs. Yeah, it would be stupid to pick the Panthers right here, right now. So, although I think the Panthers could make it somewhat of a game. I'm not going to say that the Chiefs roll in there and just fucking stomp them out. I think, the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. They don't always look too impressive on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, I just think the Panthers could make this a game. But yeah, the Chiefs should win.
I will agree with Brian in a way that there is 0 chance that Bryce Young makes it out of this game without at least 2 turnovers, 2 picks, a pick and a fumble, 2 fumbles, whatever it might be, maybe more. Bryce Young is not going to enjoy this game. Bryce Young is going to hate this game because he's going to realize not every team is not every team is the Saints and the Giants. He's going to be like, oh, this team doesn't stink like the Giants. Oh shit. This is the Chiefs. Oh, they've won 2 Super Bowls in a row. Give me the Chiefs, dude. Give me this. Poor Panthers.
Out of all the players here, so we talked about Kareem Hunt, we talked about Chuba. Xavier Worthy, I guess, is the most important fantasy name? Are you starting Xavier Worthy? He had a big first half last week. Bad second half against the Panthers. You would? Okay.
Yeah, against the Panthers, I would.
I'd look for Travis Kelce to come back and have a big time bounce back game. At least
I
in
think
the
Kelsey's
first
about
half.
to have a great game. Yeah, I think Kelsey's about to have a really good game against the Panthers.
This is also a moment for the Chiefs to break out and say, finally beat the fucking shit out of somebody. Like, this is the chance for the Chiefs to just fucking stomp a team, get their confidence back, because they have not stomped a team this year.
Yeah.
I think their best win is against San Francisco. And even that was a game where Patrick Mahomes threw for 150 passing yards. They really, really need this game as a get right because their schedule gets a little shaky at the end. Chargers, Browns, Texans, Steelers, Broncos to round out the season. They're going to really, really need an easy win to get their confidence up.
Okay, next up. Titans 2-8 at Texans 7-4. Tajay Spears is out for Tennessee. L'Jarius Sneed has been placed on injured reserve with his quad injury, which means he will be out at least 4 more weeks. He has not played since week 6. No major injuries to report for the Texans. It is in Houston. I mean, I'm definitely picking the Texans. I'm not saying that the Titans have zero chance like I did with the Panthers or anything like that. The Titans definitely have a chance to win. Will Levis has played better since coming back in the lineup. Calvin Ridley's on fire right now. They still have Tony Pollard, but I think the Texans are the better team. It's in Houston. I think Nico Collins gets rolling. He didn't quite pop off the way we thought he would last week. I think he pops off this week. But no L'Jarius Sneed. I think Nico Collins comes back and has a vintage Nico Collins game. Give me the Texans.
Yeah. I'm taking the Texans too. I do think that the Titans defense might give CJ Stroud some fits, but CJ Stroud hasn't been the reason why the Texans have been winning this game. It's been their run game and their defense. Their defense is number 4 in all of the land.
And all of the land.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I just think that the Texans defense is just going to shut this down for Will Levis. If Will Levis is playing, Texans defense is going to force some turnovers. They're not going to make him feel comfortable. That D-line is on fire right now. So, yeah, give me the Texans.
Will Levis is the only quarterback in the NFL that had a chance to save his job and is single-handedly the reason why his job is not safe. Will Levis is like literally playing himself out of a job because the worse the Titans do, the more likely they're going to choose a quarterback. So hopefully that mayonnaise cologne is doing really good for him.
The mayonnaise cologne. Are you picking Houston too, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. Just trying to go over my head who we think about fantasy players. We've already kind of talked. You're not liking Tank Dell this week.
Not liking Tony Pollard this week.
Not liking Tony Pollard this week.
Calvin Ridley. I'd start Calvin Ridley.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would start on the Texans. I would fire up Nico Collins. Fire up Joe Mixon. I would even possibly fire up Dalton Schultz if you're having trouble with the tight end. I know he's like, if you need 10 points, he could get it for you. But if you play with defense, get the Texans defense.
I think if you're desperate in a deep league too, Westbrook Akine is perfectly fine to play. I'm not looking to get him in my lineup. But he takes a lot of snaps. I think his snap percentage is in the high 90s every week since DeAndre Hopkins got traded. So he's out on the field and shit can happen with Will Levis slinging it. So next up, Broncos 6-5 at the Raiders 2-8. No major injuries for the Broncos. Zamir White and Alexander Mattison are both doubtful. Nate Hobbs and Jacorian Bennett are both out. Jack Jones is questionable. So the Raiders are hurting a little bit. If Zamir White and Alexander Mattison both miss, it will be Amir Abdullah. Dylan Laube is there too still, but I think he's had 1 touch this year and he fumbled on that touch. So that's how that goes here. I know they like Amir Abdullah a lot. So like if you're trying to start somebody in this game at running back for the Raiders, Amir Abdullah is the play. I wouldn't recommend it, but he is the guy that they're probably going to give the most work to. So, and he can catch balls out of the backfield too. Yes. He's actually a decent PPR guy. That's why they like him a lot on like 3rd down and stuff like that. They love Amir Abdullah. So I do think there are worse plays out there, but I definitely wouldn't feel confident about doing that. getting back to the game, I mean, I don't see how the Raiders win this game. Obviously, any given Sunday, but the Broncos are the better team. They have a fantastic defense. The Broncos completely shit pumped the Raiders the last time they played in Denver. Yeah, I don't. The Raiders' offense is just so fucking stagnant against this good of a defense. And Bo Nix, I think, is going to eat the Raiders' defense alive too. So yeah, give me the Broncos. I don't think it'll be as much of an ass kicking as it was during the Denver game, but I still think it's not going to be close. I'll say the Broncos win by 10.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be close at all. Honestly, I just think the Broncos are going to shit can them again. Honestly, as for like starts on the Broncos, though, I mean, I even think Javonte Williams is worth a start. You could even talk yourself into a guy like Devon Vele or even. God, who's the other one? Marvin Mims.
Little Jordan Humphrey?
Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe. No.
Maybe.
But yeah, Bo Nix is a fine start this week too, man. That guy's going to get maybe 100 rushing yards on this team.
I don't think I would start those other two receivers, but I would absolutely start Devon Vele in this game if you needed a flex play. I think he's decent.
Yeah, man. I think Amir Abdullah is a pretty good option just because I think Gardner Minshew is probably going to be so scared on that field that I'm serious, dude. I think that Broncos pass rush is going to put the fear of God into Gardner Minshew, and he's going to have to be dumping the ball off a lot. He's not a vertical passer as it is. He's a check down guy. He's a 5-yard out kind of guy. Like, he might get you a 17, 20-yard completion here and there, but it's rare. And I think if he has even less time to look down the field, Amir Abdullah, Brock Bowers, those kinds of guys are going to get a lot of short little passes. I don't think the Raiders wide receivers are startable at all across the board. So it's looking bleak for that. And this is a divisional game, but I fully expect that Broncos defense to take the game over probably from the first snap, and they'll just run with it there. Like, Bo Nix, you're not going to have to do much to win this game, but still do you, dude. You could win the Rookie of the Year. Get out there. This is your time to shine. Bo Nix!
Okay. Next up, 49ers 5-5 at Green Bay Packers 7-3. Brock Purdy's out. Brandon Allen will get the start. Trent Williams is questionable. Nick Bosa is out. George Kittle expects to play. Jair Alexander is dealing with a PCL tear and will miss time. They expect him back later on in the season. However, though, I believe Josh Jacobs is questionable for this game. So we kind of already talked about Purdy being out. Brandon Allen, we don't really trust him as a backup quarterback, but with that being said, the 49ers, anything could happen. Their offense is just so well run that maybe Brandon Allen can come in there and beat the Packers, who, although are 7-3, I feel like haven't really played up to 7-3 ball. Like, they're a good team, but I don't know if they're an elite team. They've had some ups, they've had some downs. What's the weather going to be like in Green Bay? Do you have that on deck, Dylan, by any chance?
I'll just go back to the schedule right here. Been kind of neglecting that, but it should be about 40 degrees, I'm guessing.
Okay.
It's going to be 44 and cloudy in Green Bay.
44 and cloudy, okay.
A little chilly.
Yeah, dude.
I'm going to pick the Packers. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I think Brandon Allen will probably game manage to the best of his abilities and keep the 49ers in it. I think CMC is going to keep slowly working back from that injury that he had. I think it'll be a close game. I'll say the Packers. Yeah, I'll say Packers by 4. Packers by 4.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the Packers too. I do think that the 49ers could keep it somewhat close, but I just don't think they have enough this game, especially if Trent Williams misses this game. Nick Bosa is a huge loss to that D-line. I mean, I think this is a game where Josh Jacobs can exploit that weakness in the D-line a little bit. So Packers, honestly, I mean, this is a great uniform matchup too. This is one of the classic rivalry matchups as well. So, but yeah, the Packers, man, these are the games that they need to win at home usually, and I think the Packers can do it.
If the Niners were healthy in this game, I would still choose the Packers.
Really?
The Niners are underwhelming. And we thought once CMC came back that was going to amplify their skills, their abilities. But it seems like just last week, it was a very weak game. They barely squeezed it out versus Tampa Bay. They barely squeezed it out versus Dallas, who's been struggling. It's just they don't look the same. And I do think the Packers are a better team in these circumstances, and they're at home. They have to be kind of amped up from that win they had against Chicago, just because they probably felt like, oh, this game slipped away from us, but it didn't. So that provides energy. And yeah, man, maybe it's just not the Niners' year this year. I'm starting to think that it's possible it's not the Niners' year. Mm-hmm. And this will be a game that proves it. And the only thing that is positive, I guess, for the Packers is that it's not Aaron Rodgers out there playing against the Niners. Like, you saw Jordan Love played against the Niners really well in the playoffs last year too. Like, the Packers didn't give up in that game, and this is better circumstances for them. So give me the Packers to win in a close game. I do not think Brandon Allen has a good game though. They're going to lean on the run, and they're going to lean on the run completely. I mean, McKinney, I know Alexander's out, but McKinney and that defensive backfield is going to have a little bit of a game on him.
Yeah.
Jaden Reed, got to play him, right?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Had a few down weeks in a row, but I think he's got to get played. Anybody else? We're not playing Tucker Kraft. Christian Watson?
Yeah,
he's probably playable, right?
Yeah, he's been showing some flashes. Yeah, been getting a little bit more volume as of late, but of course you're always going to hope for a touchdown with Christian Watson.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really good game against the Bears too, Watson.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
Cardinals versus Seahawks. Arizona is 6-4. Seattle's 5-5. This is a very important game in that division. In Seattle, no major injuries for Arizona. Noah Fant is questionable for Seattle. Seahawks coming off a nice win last week against the 49ers. Cardinals still first place in this division. A game up on the other three teams who are tied for either second or last, depending on if you're a pessimist or or pessimist or an optimist. I don't know. How do you guys feel about this?
I gotta say, this is probably the hardest game of the week to pick for me.
It's tough for sure. Like the Cardinals are the better team, but going into Seattle, divisional game, the Seahawks are probably pumped up from the victory last week. I'm with you. This is a tough one to call.
Yeah, because you just never know which version of Seattle you're going to get either week in, week out. So
you don't really know what version of Arizona you're going to get week in, week out too. Yeah, two just perplexing teams. Dylan, you got an opinion about this one? Well, me and Kai ponder.
So this is the two. They play the Cardinals 2 out of the next 3 games. They play Cardinals, Jets, Cardinals. Okay. So my thought is this is going to split. These two teams are going to split games because it's way too close together. The Seahawks are coming off a nice game, but they've been probably the most streaky team in the NFL. And I mean, they have a 3-game win streak and a 3-game loss streak. So it's like, we don't know who this team is at all. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is say they're going to win at home.
That's kind of what I was thinking too.
The Seahawks are going to win this game at home, and then they're going to go to Arizona in a couple weeks and lose. It's like everybody in this division is sub 500. So it only makes sense for this to keep going. Like, everybody else is 5-5. Arizona's 6-4. It's time for that to end. Everybody's about to be 6-5 or 5-6. So give me the Seahawks to win in a close game. No reason.
Sorry to steal your bit, but I looked up the weather report. 47 degrees and rainy on Sunday in Seattle. It's going to feel like 44 degrees. There's a 94% chance of rain.
Yeah, I think with that being said, I would imagine Seattle is more used to the rainy weather in their home stadium. So, kind of like Dylan's thought process on it. I didn't want to keep copying his picks, but...
Oh, shush. That's why we're first and second place.
Yeah.
I'll pick. So you're picking the Seahawks then, Kai?
Yeah.
I'll pick the Cardinals. I do agree with you guys that the Seahawks are probably more used to the rain, obviously, than Arizona is. But I would say who has the better run game? It's probably both about the same. James Conner's a beast. So is Kenneth Walker. Kyler Murray running the ball, though. I think that's going to help as well. Kyler's having a better last few weeks than he did at the start of the season. Geno's actually playing like good football lately too, so I don't want to like shit on him.
He's pretty good on the ground too. Like he's not a Kyler Murray, but he's good on the ground. Yeah,
he has been very like a lot more mobile this year than he has been in like the entirety of his career. I'm going to give the Cardinals a slight edge here. I think that the better team. I think they'll get the running game going a little bit better. I'll go with Arizona here.
Yeah, I mean this is literally a coin flip at the end of the day.
It's gonna be so cold in Seattle, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like I know 46 and like it feels like 44 is not that cold, but when it is torrentially raining, because up in the Pacific Northwest right now, they've been having some crazy weather. A lot of rain, a bomb cyclone. They've been having
like a cyclone, right?
Yeah, they've been having like crazy weather. And I look for this game. This is gonna be a messy game. It's gonna be like a sloppy one, and it is gonna come down to who can protect the ball the best. And I think both of these teams probably is gonna be very equal. Like I won't be surprised if I'm totally wrong and the Cardinals win.
Nope.
Well, I won't be surprised if I'm totally wrong and the Seahawks win.
Oh, look at us. We're friends.
All right. Last two games of the week is a Los Angeles primetime twofer. One on Sunday night, one on Monday night. The Sunday night football game, Eagles at Rams. Philly is 8-2. LA is 5-5. Devontae Smith is out. Bryce Huff for the Eagles underwent surgery and is set to miss multiple weeks. The team has placed him on injured reserve. No major injuries to report for the Rams. I guess we'll start with the Eagles fan, Kai. How do you feel this game's shaking out?
This is going to be an incredibly tough test for our defense right now. Number 1 in the league, by the way, as it stands. They've been incredibly improved since the bye week. The whole team's been just improved. I expect the defense to battle it out here with the Rams. I could see this being a really close shootout-esque kind of game. But of course, I'm going to go with my team here. I just think they have a little bit more. They're a little bit more complete team. I think we have the edge on defense and offense. Yeah, if we can shut down Kyron Williams, though, I think this game will be a little bit easier for us to win.
You think that they will?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the Eagles' rush defense has been amazing. I'm also very interested to see which wide receiver Quinyon Johnson or Quinyon Mitchell. Yeah, Quinyon Mitchell is going to cover.
I mean, AJ Brown. If the Eagles, not AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp. If they're smart.
Yeah.
I mean, Cooper Kupp is the guy that breaks the games wide open. I feel like if you cover Cooper Kupp, then
Kupp does a lot of his stuff from the slot, though, right? Like not every play, but he
moves around a lot too.
Where Quinyon Mitchell doesn't really cover people in the slot, right? He's more of an outside guy.
Yeah,
so I would assume he's probably on Puka mostly.
I feel like Kupp's the guy that you have to mitigate. You have to mitigate Kupp because a lot of Puka's success comes from the drawing of attention and the double teams to Cooper Kupp. So I feel like if you're able to cover him with one guy, it would open up your defense a little bit more to some different play calls. But the one thing I'm looking for in this game is what can Saquon Barkley do? Because to me, Saquon Barkley is the whole reason that the Philadelphia Eagles are 8-2 and their offense looks good. And that is probably because of Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I've said it before. I mean, if we didn't have Saquon, we'd probably have a sub 500 record right now.
It's just
Sirianni would be fucking packing boxes at Costco right now.
Yeah, he would have already been fired. Even with the defense being as good as it is, man. Yeah, Dylan's right. Saquon is the whole engine of this offense.
And let me tell you something right now. He is dangerously close to eclipsing Derrick Henry for most rushing yards in the league. And I think Derrick Henry had a huge lead, but it's been the last couple of weeks where Saquon has just busted it wide open. And it looks like this is the reason why you bring Saquon in, is for these late season, last 6 games of the year. Everybody's banged up a little bit, and we're going to hand it to this workhorse that's just going to beat the shit out of your linebackers.
So you picking the Eagles?
I'm going to take the Eagles to win this game. I really am. I think they have what it takes. And it seems like bringing Saquon to this offense has also brought a level of, I don't want to say it's like selflessness. Is Saquon leaving the field to let younger guys get better, to get more stats or get them in the games, or being so excited for the tush push that he's the one that wants to run it. It feels like everybody that it's brought the diva-ness out of this whole team in a general, and they're playing as one cohesive unit. And that's a dangerous, dangerous thing for a team that's so talented.
I'm going to pick the Rams. I think the loss of Devontae Smith is going to hurt the Eagles offense more than what we're letting on here. I do like Dallas Goedert still. Obviously, A.J. Brown's a beast. Saquon will have his, but I really like the Rams pass rush. I think that they're going to be in Jalen Hurts' face a lot when he's back to throw. And I think not having Devontae Smith to help bail him out too is going to hurt. I think the Eagles are going to get out to like a decently comfortable lead in the first and second quarter, let's say like 10, 13 points. And I think the Rams are going to battle back in the second half and pull out a win. I think it's going to be like a thriller type situation. I think the Rams win by a field goal at the end of the game. LA Rams.
All right.
Next up, Ravens 7-4 at LA Chargers 7-3. Monday Night Football, the second Harbaugh Bowl in NFL history. Is this the second one? Did they have another regular season one too, or is it only this one in the Super Bowl? I feel like they must have played in the regular season at least once.
I'd have to look that up.
Let me Jim Harbaugh versus John Harbaugh all time. This is great. This is great radio here. So the Super Bowl was the first one, which obviously John won. And then they also played Thanksgiving Day in 2011 in Baltimore, where the Ravens won 16-6. So
Yeah,
John is up
twice.
2-0 on Jim. So this is actually Harbaugh Bowl 3.
Okay.
So big brother's up on little brother 2-0. Roquan Smith did not practice on Thursday for the Ravens. Something to keep an eye on. This is a potential playoff matchup.
Yeah.
Potential playoff preview.
It's a
Ravens,
really good,
Chargers.
really fantastic Monday Night Football game.
It really is.
Yeah. Might be my favorite game of the week, honestly, even over the Eagles and Rams.
You want to go first then, Kai? You got a thought process here? I haven't really decided who I think is. I'm leaning one way, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet.
Yeah, I have my decision already. I'm going to take the Chargers here.
Okay.
I just really like what I'm seeing from them lately. Obviously, I griped about the errors that I think they made in that game last week to where, they just stopped running the ball in the second half with a huge lead. Kind of expect Jim Harbaugh to pull out all the stops here. He probably knows that he's down 2-0 against his big brother. He probably wants to get one on him. So I just think with the way that the Chargers defense has been playing, minus, the game last week against a really good offense, but I just think with the way that Herbert's playing right now, I think the run game can exploit this Ravens defense as well. I kind of just see this being like a perfect game for the Chargers to win.
EP?
I'm looking at something here. I think what's going to be the difference in this game is going to be the difference in every game that the Ravens play, and it's going to be Derrick Henry. So like Lamar Jackson is good and all, Zay Flowers is good and all, Mark Andrews maybe. Can Mark Andrews bust this game open? My answer is I'm more confident in Derrick Henry to take over this game than anybody else playing on the field at any time during this game. It's like, this is what you brought him in for. Enough being cute, dude. I feel like the Ravens get a little cute. They get it. This is what happened to them against the Browns. And this is what happened to them. Kind of just
AFC Championship.
Dude. Yeah, it's just like you get away from the run game. You lose these games that you should win. Like, I don't think Derrick Henry is involved enough against the Steelers either. And it really shows when you get your best player going and you get and you get that whole defense focused on the line of scrimmage, what happens for a player like Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers? Can they do that? And I think in a brothers matchup, like these guys want to beat each other, you've got to be super smart with it, and you've got to give Derrick Henry the ball. And if they do that, I think the Ravens win.
I'm with you. I think they're gonna feed Derrick Henry. I expect the Ravens to win. I definitely see where Kai's coming from. Like, it wouldn't shock me if the Chargers won this game. Definitely not. I think this is gonna be a really close game. I think it's gonna be like an old school style of football. A lot of running game between J.K. Dobbins and Derrick Henry, and also Gus Edwards too. I think the Chargers are gonna try to get J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards both going. This is their former team that they're playing. So I'm gonna say the Ravens win by a really close one again too. So I'll say Ravens, but I think it's gonna be a really close game, really hard fought. I'll say like 20-17 Ravens.
Are you guys not concerned at all about the Ravens passing defense against the Chargers with the way that they've been passing the ball lately?
Well, Will Dissly is one of my saviors, so I definitely am. I think that Justin Herbert's going to have a great game. I think that one or two or all of the Chargers receiving threats will have nice games. I think Dissly will have a good game. I think at least one of, if not both, Ladd and Cuge will have good games too. So I definitely think the Chargers passing attack is going to be good. But I think the Ravens are the better team, so I'm sticking with the Ravens.
The reason why I don't think that the Chargers passing game is a huge threat to the Ravens is because they just played the Bengals, who have equally as bad of a pass defense. And Justin Herbert threw for under 50% of his passes. He wasn't efficient. It wasn't a good game by him by any means. Like, sure, he threw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he almost blew a lead, almost lost that game. You know, it's not like he took the game over. And their rushing game was completely non-existent. He led the team in rushing too. So it's just like, you're already playing a team that has a great rushing offense. And if Justin Herbert doesn't play a perfect game, then there's no way the Chargers win this. Like, he is their team. When it all gets down to it, he's their team.
Okay. That's it for us then. As always, you can find us at Raging Takes everywhere: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. You can email us ragingtakes@gmail.com. I'm at Montana Sauce on Twitter. Kai is at RTP Kai, and Dylan is at Such a Wise Fool. We'll see you on Tuesday. Good luck this week in your fantasy matchups.